All right. Thank you everyone again for joining us and welcome to the Q3 Cleveland Hug event. My name is Elizabeth Duran and I'm the Director of Operations at Ready North, which is a digital marketing agency based in Cleveland, but with team members across the country. We were HubSpot's first ever partner agency, and we also established the Cleveland Hug. So we're very excited to welcome you here today to talk about HubSpot payments. I am really excited about this topic. If you attended Inbound virtually or in person, you know that Yamini and all of the other HubSpot presenters focused a lot on being like truly connected with your customers. So they shared that today's organizations are experiencing a crisis of disconnection, which ultimately leaves them struggling to grow. So one of the ways that HubSpot helps businesses overcome this is by focusing on customer connection versus customer management. So our deep dive into HubSpot payments today will be an excellent example of how layering the right customer data into your CRM provides a more connected experience and at scale. So just a few housekeeping notes. As you're already doing, please continue to use the chat box to ask questions, engage with your fellow attendees. Jack is going to be stopping periodically to just check out the chat, and we love to see your questions and thoughts in real time. Like I mentioned, we're also recording this meeting, so we'll share that with you in the coming days via email, and you can feel free to share it with any colleagues who you think will benefit from hearing today's discussion. And yeah, that's enough for me. So I'll introduce you to today's speaker. With us today is Jack Coopersmith. He's the go-to-market lead for the products and commerce team at HubSpot, and we're very grateful to him for joining us today. So the stage is yours.
I'm very grateful for being invited today. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for putting on these events, and thanks for including me here today. And thanks everyone else here for great to meet you folks. While we're chatting now, I do hope that the conversation continues after today. And folks, I definitely hope that this is more of a discussion than a presentation here. So I'll keep my eye on the chat throughout. I'd love it if you all could just throw questions my way, throw feedback my way, throw out ideas as well, because ultimately this is a really big thought leadership push and a major push over the next few years for HubSpot, as Elizabeth kind of alluded to a few minutes ago. So we're super excited about HubSpot payments. And I do think a lot of folks are kind of looking around, wondering how other folks are thinking about it and using it. So ideas are absolutely welcome as well. So folks, my name's Jack Coopersmith. I'm currently based in Cape Cod. I do live in Boston. I've been at HubSpot for about 6 years now, and I'm now working in the product organization on our payments and commerce product. Now, folks, to kick things off, I actually took a screenshot from our internal wiki on our end. I'll be completely honest, I don't think many people outside of HubSpot have ever really seen information from this internal wiki, is what we call it. But ultimately, every June, our exec team has an offsite, and they go into it and they come out saying, what are we going to be? What is HubSpot going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years from now? And as you all will see from Yamini on down, it is our mission to be the leading commerce-powered CRM platform for SMBs. As Elizabeth mentioned earlier, historically, systems have been very disconnected for organizations, and we're on a mission to connect systems, to connect people, and ultimately to solve this crisis of disconnection that the whole world, in a lot of ways, is really seeing. So, folks, HubSpot Payments is a huge, huge, huge initiative for us this year, next year, and well beyond. This is not a space that we're going to be dabbling into. We really are jumping right into it. And because of that, I have the coolest job at HubSpot. I will tell you all that. So folks, before just jumping right into everything, I do want to just anchor ourselves in the arc of HubSpot and where HubSpot Payments fits into it. Because ultimately, while we do have a couple of different competitive edges, I think our main competitive edge over the past 16 plus years here is really having good ideas and understanding market forces, and then building tools to allow organizations to capitalize on those market forces. Thought leadership through and through. So folks, we built this company on inbound marketing. I'm sure a lot of you all, Elizabeth, you all definitely got on board with inbound marketing. And the customers who did, and the organizations who did hop on that inbound marketing train years ago, generally do not regret that at all. Yep, exactly. Now, as we expanded our tool set, though, we had to move from funnel to flywheel. So we built a CRM, we built marketing tools and sales tools and service tools. And ultimately, we tried to break down those front office silos between your front office teams while having customer data at the center of absolutely everything. So this was about like 6, 7 years ago when we built that CRM. And in a lot of ways, this is like HubSpot 2.0. We do think that we're approaching another major moment here, folks, because as we looked at everything, we noticed that you couldn't really run your entire business on HubSpot. You could focus on the front office for sure, and we did a great job of centralizing data and breaking down those silos, but ultimately, businesses make money, and while we did have the deal object, we didn't really finish the swing on running your whole business on HubSpot. And so instead of just having your customer data all the way over here and your commerce data separate, our whole vision is to bring commerce and CRM data together so that you can truly run your whole business on HubSpot and connect all of your systems. So we do think we're really at that HubSpot 3.0 phase. This is one of those big bets for us in the future here, folks, where we're going to have commerce and CRM at the center of your entire business. So big moment for HubSpot. We're super excited about this. Ultimately, commerce and CRM connection will unlock a lot of power for you folks, and we're definitely going to be getting into that for sure. Now, ultimately, before just jumping into the tools, folks, and showing you how they work and how to think about them, I want to just chat with you all at a high level around how we're thinking about building these tools from a product perspective. When we think about how flywheels spin faster, ultimately, there are two sides of this. There's removing friction, and then there's adding force. I want to first touch on the removing friction side of things. Ultimately, we know that a lot of folks do have a rep assisted sale motion. And so we want to solve for that small and medium sized business quote to cash or configure price quote motion. Right now, folks, it takes a business an average of 5 tools to manage this motion. We think it should take like 1 or 2, to be completely honest. So to give you just a couple of examples here, you can very easily just add a sign button and a checkout button to a quote. We also now have custom quote templates that will allow for you all to customize these really however you see fit. We have workflows woven into everything. This really is the pipes underneath all of HubSpot. So you can do things like streamline post-sale motions under our roof. You can stay on top of all of the different subscriptions that you have without having to wade through a bunch of data and chase people down a month later. Again, we'll get into all of this more when we do jump into the tools themselves. So we want to solve for the rep assisted sale and that quote to cash motion. We also want to open up new revenue streams for companies and help companies kind of think about their go-to-market motion a little bit differently. And what we're calling this, and what the market more broadly is calling this, is B2B e-commerce. Now, folks, before just jumping into this here, I always like to show this slide because so many businesses nowadays are saying, no one will ever buy my services without talking to a human. Well, we think this is similar to what Blockbuster was saying a couple of decades ago, that no one will ever rent DVDs through the mail. We know how that ended up for Blockbuster, and we do think that companies need to rethink how they take their products and services to market online, especially in a post-pandemic digital age. Ultimately, folks, I know that when you're buying something on your own behalf, like on the B2C motion, I bet that you all have super high expectations. I can tell you all, I just bought a condo, ordered a bunch of stuff, and it's at my front door the next morning. People completely throw those expectations out the window, though, when they're buying on behalf of a business. They should not do that. The B2C expectations should also be the same when you're buying on behalf of a business, ultimately. So folks, a couple of examples, and again, we'll get into the actual tools themselves, but the easiest thing that any company can sell is their time. You can connect payments to meetings to put a price on these meetings and get paid before a meeting even hits your calendar. You can do things like sell events or content, all without a human. You can run cross-sell campaigns and other things like that without a human, because ultimately all of the data is going to be underneath our one roof. So folks, that B2B e-commerce motion here is something that we really are going to be pushing forward. And you've probably heard us talk a decent amount about it already. I do just want to call this out here, folks, on this slide. Frankly, there are more words on this slide than I generally would like. But ultimately, as I think about 2022 and really the rest of this decade in a lot of ways, we're living in weird times. I'm sure a lot of you all are seeing that in your day to day and feeling it. I certainly am as well. I'll kind of break things down into a couple of different buckets. Ultimately, I touched on this a few minutes ago, but the post-pandemic digital age, does anyone actually think we're going to be clicking rewind back to 2019? I don't think anyone does. And on the B2B side of things, where we're really focusing in the immediate future here, 40% of B2B transactions are still via paper check. To me, that folks, this is a 20th century relic. I don't know about you all, but I have the same checkbook that I had when my mom opened a bank account for me when I was a little kid. So we want to help folks modernize and help businesses modernize. Your competition will. And so don't get left behind. I'm sure you all are in a similar boat, because why would you use checkbooks? I certainly don't want to. Having to wait on the USPS also to run your business is just not something that businesses should be doing in 2022 and beyond. Now, another thing about this here, folks, is we're going into what could be a recession. I'm certainly not an economist here, but ultimately a lot of businesses are looking around and they're like, how can I be as lean and efficient as possible as I go into these economic times? And then how can I come out on the other end stronger? Ultimately, you can cut down on a lot of tools by using HubSpot payments in our entire commerce motion. What that means is fewer bills, fewer headaches, fewer for you all, fewer tools, and fewer disconnected systems. Now, ultimately, this also means automation as well. You can be a lot more effective with your time and not do stuff that you probably don't like doing anyway, like calling people who forgot to pay you or who had a failed payment. Also, you can open up new revenue streams entirely as well. 44% of B2B buyers right now are millennials. Now, folks, I am a millennial, so I'll just speak for myself here. I don't like talking to people that much. So if you can have a more online, streamlined, lightweight go-to-market motion, you're going to be meeting buyers where they already are. And I alluded to this a few minutes ago, but why should you throw those expectations out the window on the B2C side when you're buying on behalf of a business? You definitely should not. So, folks, I want to just give you all a couple of examples as well, because I think all of this probably sounds good, but I want to just call out a couple of specific case studies that we've had recently and then jump into the actual tools with you folks. So, ZenPilot, this is one of our partners who saved $15,000 a month and 2 days a month in human hours. If this isn't adding force and removing friction, I don't know what is. Like, holy cow, indeed, Haley. These are real numbers. I have some more for you though. Apps without code. These folks eliminated 5 tools in their tech stack and saved 10 plus hours per month. Again, this is being lean and efficient here through and through. It's of course also saving you money. I'll also call out International Car Wash Association. 400% increase in e-com sales. Yes, that's 2 zeros, folks, not a 40%, 400%, and then 98.6% faster order completion. So we are seeing that folks who hop on board here are seeing real results right now. So if you're not hopping on board, I'd encourage you all to at least consider doing so, because we do think that this is one of those huge moments for HubSpot and really for the entire market more broadly. Commerce and CRM need to be connected, especially as we're facing these macro headwinds that we are right now. Cool. So what do the tools actually look like? You all may be wondering. I want to jump right in, and I'm going to walk through these tools, folks, at a pretty high level. I'd love it if you all could just send along any and all questions and any and all feedback that you have. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this deck really quickly. I have a couple of calls to action for you folks, and then we will have some time for a dedicated Q&A. But again, if any questions come up, if there's anything on your mind, please let us know in the chat here. Would love to get through anything and everything on your minds. Now, folks, I'm going to run through these tools. I want to first chat with you all about execution. So what does it look like from your perspective? What does it look like from your buyer's perspective? Then I want to chat through what a commerce-powered CRM actually looks like. What does that mean? How are we building it? And then finally, I want to chat about how you all can think about HubSpot payments and the commerce motion more generally with the rest of the HubSpot framework. And I'll give you all some ideas as to how to think about potential automation or reporting as well. So firstly, folks, time back to what we were chatting about a couple minutes ago around the adding force, B2B e-commerce, and removing friction. small to medium-sized business quote to cash route, I want to first chat about the quote to cash route specifically. Now, if you all haven't explored our quotes tool recently, I would indeed recommend doing so. As we invest in HubSpot payments, which really is like the first, second, and third priority from a product perspective for our company, we're definitely going to also be investing in payment adjacent things like quotes. So, folks, if you all haven't checked out quotes since, I'll say, April of this year, we now have custom quote templates. I'll just show you a quick example of what custom quote templates can look like, because you can make these pretty intense, pretty fancy documents. Now, all of this is great. You can also dynamically populate information into these using personalization tokens as well. So not only can you easily create these quote templates and make them look however you'd like, they're connected to the CRM. And so you're able to pull that information into these quotes as well to make these feel a little bit more personalized. Custom quote templates, great question there, Elizabeth. You all will want to have professional in order to use this. So sales professional, you'll see this unlocked. If you're not using that though, folks, you will indeed see a bunch of out of the box quote templates as well. Now, quotes are always associated with deals. I'd be happy to back up and chat with you all more broadly about deals, but generally the folks who do come to these types of events have a pretty good grasp on this system. So if anyone would like me to double back there, feel free to let me know and I'm happy to. On the quote side of things, ultimately, it'll always have your branding and your colors right here. Don't worry about that. It won't have the big HubSpot logo. I can tell you all that. Quick question from Shannon that I just want to pick up. Are there increases in payments functions as you tier up in Sales Hub license level? Kind of, and I'll chat with you more about that. But ultimately, folks, anyone who has any starter hub that is based in the United States, has a US tax ID and a US bank account, can use HubSpot payments. So Starter Plus is going to be the barrier that we have, which is, as I'm sure you all know, pretty low. When it comes to workflows, when it comes to custom reporting, you need a Pro Plus account in order to access those. Again, I'll call that out when we get there. And Shannon, I'll be sure as we continue this conversation to call out when you do need a seat as an example versus don't. Frankly, if you all have feedback for us on the pricing and packaging front, we would love to hear from you. So I'll call that out though as we continue to go through this demo of the tools. So folks, on quotes, I don't think I need to completely read from the screen here, but know that you can always use things like snippets. If you want to do like hashtag terms as an example, and then have all of that pop out, you can most definitely do that. Now, moving through this quickly, because again, it is a pretty straightforward tool that I'm sure a lot of you folks have already seen before. This page right here, this is that configuration page where you can either pull from a product library or just create a custom line item. I'll mention a couple of things, folks, that are immediately on the horizon here as I do talk through these tools. Now, ultimately, you can process one-time or recurring payments with HubSpot payments. So if it is recurring, I'll chat with you all about what happens after the fact, but know that you can do one-time or recurring payments on this side of things. A couple of features that we just released. One of them is going to be order level discounts. So this is where you all can come in and do things like add a one-time discount. You can also add a unit discount to the specific line item as well. One feature that's going to be coming in the next month, month and a half, 2 months that I want to make sure that you all are aware of. And if you're wondering, can we engage you all early to these tools? The answer is an emphatic yes, we absolutely can. Future start dates is coming on the horizon. What that is enter in your payment info now and then charge it in 30 days, and then 30 days after that, and then 30 days after that. So the most obvious use case here is going to be things like free trials. So future start date or scheduled subscriptions, that's the term that we're using for that. The other one that, frankly, we're going to start on gating people to a private beta for today is payment schedules. This is something I imagine that you all will probably use or have some interest in. Let's say it's $1,000 in total. What we could do is $500 down today, and then maybe $250 down on October 1st, let's call it, which I guess is not that far away, and then another $250 on October 15th as an example, or when the project is complete. So payment schedules, folks, as you'll see, this is right on the horizon. We'd be happy to engage anyone and everyone for this, especially if you all give us feedback on it. Now, the connection between quotes and HubSpot payments is frankly very straightforward. All you do is you come in, you select HubSpot Payments. You can give credit card or ACH. If you are playing a rate game, folks, you don't even have to give credit card as an option here. And what this does is it simply adds a checkout button to the quote. When you click checkout, you're taken to a checkout page that has your branding and it has your colors, of course, and then you pay. That's really it. Folks, while this is super straightforward, that's the point of this ultimately, because again, businesses use 5 tools to manage this process right now. Those tools can be a fortune as well. So if you can cut down on those tools, you can cut down on those bills, you can have a much more streamlined process on the quote to cash front. Madison, great question. Can you adjust those dates after the fact? You'll be able to down the road, and I'll chat with you more about that. But right now, if someone so when someone clicks pay, ultimately that's when a recurring payment would start. Now, if a price change from when you initially set the scheduled dates, we can get more into that, Madison. I do want to chat with you all about the subscription record. So I may table that question if that's okay. But ultimately, when it comes to being able to amend things and extend, you will have that ability down the road. Right now, though, let's say it was a 12-month project billed monthly as an example. So come in right here and it takes an extra month that they would need to pay for. As it stands right now, you would want to create a quick link and then send it their way. So I'll tie back to this question in a few minutes. But as it stands right now, if you wanted to like extend a recurring payment as an example, you would need to have folks re-enter in their payment information. Cool. So folks, that's the quote route. Again, cutting down from 5 tools to like 1 or 2 ultimately. The other route that you all would use to execute on HubSpot payments is going to be called payment links. This is really the Swiss Army knife of HubSpot payments. And for some of you all, you may still see this within settings. We're slowly ungating to bring this into the navigation here. So if you're not seeing this little arrow that then takes you out, you'll go ahead and just click on that settings gear, and then you'll see payments in the bottom left. Now, when it comes to creating a payment link, the first interface is going to be very similar to the quote interface. Again, we want to have that UI consistency as much as possible. I think this is one of the reasons why people love using HubSpot as much as they do, because it's just really easy. So we're trying to maintain that consistency. I can tell you all that. With payment links, you can do one-time or recurring payments as well. Of course, if you are doing recurring payments, you can give it a fixed number of payments or auto-renew until canceled. A couple of features on the payment link side of things that you won't see on quotes because it just doesn't really make sense. If you click into a given line item, you'll now see the option to allow people to set their own price. This is both like a nonprofit and a partial payment use case. So this is where I can type in, as an example, $115 and then pay $115. So you type it in, you pay that amount. The other part of this here is allowing people to edit their quantity. So let's say you're selling tickets or seats as an example. If someone selects 7 tickets and they're $100 each, the total price in that case will be $700, of course. So these are 2 new features that we have. We're going to have a couple more things coming on payment links, specifically discount codes. That's something that we're also going to be approaching a private beta for very, very quickly. So if you all do have any feedback on those, or if you'd like access to discount codes, please let me know, because we'd be happy to engage you folks. So this is the configuration side of a given payment link. The last piece of this is giving it a name. If you'd like a deal created and put into the stage of your choosing, you can most definitely do so. You can customize this checkout page. You can put anything from emojis and images into this, but frankly, what we're seeing more than anything is people putting in things like terms and conditions right here. This is a QA account, folks, where we load up the alpha. As you'll see right here, this is what discount codes is going to look like, as you'll see. You can collect any information that you'd like around about a given person. So maybe their job title, as an example. Another thing that we have seen people do on this side is like a checkbox property for, do you accept the terms and conditions? I'm certainly not a lawyer by any means here, folks, but we are seeing people do that. So keep that in mind if you do have that like terms and conditions element. If you'd like to collect shipping or billing, you can. Finally, you can redirect to another page. So let's say you wanted to pay and then redirect someone to set up their user profile, as an example, or submit more information. submit their website so that you can redesign it or whatever it may be, you can certainly do that. Now, that's the payment link creation process, folks. And I was a little chatty throughout that, but frankly, it shouldn't take more than 90 seconds to spin one of these up. And this is going to be a link just like any other. You can think about distribution of payment links kind of like a meetings link, in that you can copy it and put it literally anywhere that you want. You can also grab an embed code and put it on a given page with your navigation and everything else if you'd like. And folks, payment links are going to be nice and straightforward here. You'll have your logo and your colors, of course. As you'll see, this is a recurring payment. Here's what discount codes are going to look like. Again, this was actually just loaded into the account this morning. I did not know I was going to show that to you all. And this is where you enter in your email address, credit card, or ACH. And then that's really it. So Elizabeth, the embed code option, what that will do is it will essentially just take this window right here, and then you can put it on any page that you would like. And so you can put it on the HubSpot CMS if you just create a custom module and then throw that embed code right on that. You can also, of course, just put it on any page that you would like. Yep. And again, it is really just this window right here, and you can still give the credit card and the ACH options. They absolutely work on non-HubSpot sites, Madison. Yep, absolutely. We're seeing people put this in chat. We're seeing people put these payment links in marketing emails. We're really seeing them everywhere. Folks, to that end, keep the questions coming. I definitely don't want to just throw too much at you all too quickly. But to that end, this is payment links and just like a quick distribution, put them behind buttons on your website as an example. You all will see payment links proliferate throughout HubSpot, though. And what that's going to look like and what we're calling it is embedded payments. So you all saw me mention, or I guess heard me mention paid meetings earlier. Folks, you can come in, and when you're creating a meeting link, you'll see the option to come in right here and collect payments on it. This is where you come in and just add your meetings link. And what this looks like is it's the same meetings functionality that you all surely know and love. This is where you can come right in here, grab that time, and then the meeting won't hit either of your calendars until you get paid. So we're seeing folks open up completely new revenue streams with embedded payments. You can also embed, it's pretty cool. You can also embed payments with forms right now. So let's say you wanted to essentially turn the submit button into a checkout button. You can also do that. You're going to see this in the marketing email editor, in the CMS. You're going to see it in conversations in the near future. Chrome extension, Outlook extension. So folks, our vision is to allow for you all to get paid where you're already working with your buyers ultimately. So I'm trying to remove as much friction as we possibly can for you all and for your clients if we do have any other partners in here. So Elizabeth, I absolutely love the question on use cases for this. And folks, if you all have ideas, so like Madison, absolutely spot on. You're literally taking the words out of my mouth. I spent most of my time at HubSpot working in the sales organization and the customer success organization. I can tell you all that there are thousands of people who would spend a couple of $100 to pick your brain about HubSpot for like an hour or two. Paid meetings is totally that. So selling your time, we've seen a lot of coaching as well on the payment link side of things, on the paid meeting side of things. A lot of events. People are selling a lot of events, webinars, content. We're seeing a lot of different use cases. Now, you all have probably gotten this sense. We are building for the B2B customer. Ultimately, we're seeing people sell sewing machines on HubSpot payments, building homes on HubSpot payments. So while we are building for the B2B, it's amazing the wide range of customers we've seen. We've seen love coaches adopt HubSpot payments. So really interesting stuff. And I'm glad that the gears are already turning in some of your heads as to how you all could potentially use this. So embedded payments is awesome. This has been a good 6 months of work on our end. I'll just mention one other thing that you all will see in likely, before the end of this year, but it may bleed into next year a little bit. So right now you can only connect one payment link to one form. It's that one-to-one relationship. You are going to see the ability to connect multiple payment links to one form. What this will likely look like is essentially a radio select field where you can then select the payment link, and then it takes you to that payment link with that price. So that's going to be pretty sweet. Another thing that you all will see in the relatively near future is a feature that we're calling optional products. What that is you'll have, let's say, SEO services right here that you're selling. You can then have like paid ad services and social media right underneath it with a little add button. And if someone clicks on that add button, it then, of course, will just add it to that line item, and then you can purchase that thing. So uh, those are some features that you all are going to see in the near future that we're super excited about. Great question, Joe. Is the payments engine proprietary? So we can definitely get into, or actually, instead of just speaking about it, let's get into all of that stuff. So, folks, we use Stripe as our backend. We're partnering with Stripe. Now, it is not a Stripe integration. You don't have a Stripe account that you're linking. You don't have another Stripe account to log into. Frankly, you don't even see the word Stripe at all. What this brings you is the centricity of HubSpot, the UI, and the power of HubSpot with the reliability of Stripe, which is really the top in the industry. Stripe is like the biggest startup in American history. So they definitely know what they're doing. It's essentially a white label account relationship. Now, I'm sure some of you all are wondering, like, ooh, does that mean you're a lot more expensive than Stripe? No, actually, we're a little cheaper, believe it or not. Rates are 2.9% per transaction for credit cards or debit cards. The payout time here is going to be transaction plus 2 business days. Stripe is 2.9 plus 30 cents. You can also use ACH, of course. I don't need to completely read from the screen. Payout times for this payment method will be transaction plus 3 business days is when you all will see that money hit in your account. And again, you can run one-time or recurring payments on both of these. The only other thing I'll quickly mention from this side here, folks, is receipts will always be sent to buyers automatically. They're going to be transactional emails. You do not need to have transactional email add-on, though. They're going to send no matter what. They'll have your branding and colors. The phone number and the email that you input here will appear in that email. You'll also see the statement descriptor as well, so that no one scratches their head when they look at their bank statements. Are the rates a good question, Haley? Are the rates assigned to the client paying or paid by the company using the HubSpot platform? The latter. In that case, it will be from the merchant. Now, if you wanted to pass along those fees, we don't yet have the functionality. So, like the image I have in my head is like you select credit card and then it adds 2.9% automatically. That's not a feature that we currently have. It's something we've gotten some feedback on. We may build it next year. Frankly, there are a handful of things we'd like to build beforehand, like some of the stuff that I've already mentioned and some of the stuff that I will be mentioning. But folks, if you all are sitting here like, no, we really need that feature, I'd love to hear that feedback too. So it is going to be the company using the HubSpot platform in this case, Haley. But if you all really do want to see that feature where you can pass it along, let us know, because your feedback will very much impact our roadmap. So great question, Joe. Great question, Haley, as well. So folks, that's that quote route that we chatted about. Again, gigantic improvement for the vast majority of businesses. That's payment links and all of the different places where you'll see payment links, and then some of the things that are coming out over the next couple of months. I want to chat with you all about what a commerce-powered CRM actually is and how does this work and how are we thinking about building this. I want to quickly just show you all the payment object. This is the ultimate connection of commerce and CRM here. Folks, if you will ever use HubSpot, I bet this is an interface that you're familiar with. It's an index page. Create your filters, save your views, search it however you see fit here. The payment object just represents a transaction. So clicking into a given transaction right here, you all will see that this information is stored on Stripe's servers, so you don't need to worry about holding credit card or bank account information for your customers. You'll see history right here. You all can always fire full or partial refunds. That's a tough one to say sometimes for me from right here. If someone asks for another receipt, you can always fire another receipt as well. Now, folks, again, I don't think I need to read from the screen here, but the properties that roll up into this payment object are going to be probably what you would expect to see. Haley, tying back to your question, this is where you'll see these fees right here and then billing info underneath. Moving down here, folks, all of these associations are going to look and feel just like everything else that you've ever seen within HubSpot. I want to call out the subscription object. This is the second commerce object that we have. Now, a subscription record is created anytime a recurring payment is run. So, folks, if you have retainers or memberships or whatever it may be, if you're running recurring payments, you will see subscription records created. Now, this will have things like next payment due date, start date, end date. In this case, let's say we're 3 quarters into a given subscription. What you'll see here is one subscription record, and then you'll see 3 payment records underneath that. So the payment is essentially the record of the transaction. The subscription is going to be that higher level thing that holds subscription information. Elizabeth, I absolutely love the question around how is payments rolling into reporting features. Ultimately, folks, and you're kind of taking me in the direction that I was going to go anyway here, we're going to see a lot of reporting over the changes in reporting over the next couple of years, I think. Now, first and foremost, these are objects ultimately. And so if you all wanted to create a custom report off of the payment or the subscription object, you can absolutely do that for sure. You'll also see this exposed in the custom report builder as well. So you can really visualize this data however you would like. Now, there are a number of things and a number of decisions, frankly, that we need to make. And folks, I'd love for everyone in this session here to have a say in it. But ultimately, when it comes to things like ROI for ads or goal reporting or forecasting, like all of that closed loop reporting that you have within HubSpot, that all will still roll into that total amount in the closed won deal stage of your deal pipeline, of course. That's why we have payment links. That's why we give payment links the ability to create deals. Of course, quotes are already associated with deals. So we are currently living in a world where that deal object is still like the end all be all when it comes to true reporting and closed loop reporting within HubSpot. As we see a lot more commerce data coming into the CRM, that will change. We've kicked around the idea of something like an order object. Ultimately, we'll see how everything shakes out, but we will see some changes as we see a tremendous amount more commerce data come into the CRM. As it stands right now, we just launched a couple of weeks ago a default dashboard for HubSpot payments users. And again, these are objects. So folks, if you know how the custom report builder works, there's literally nothing different about the commerce objects on that side of things. So play around with this if you haven't already. And Madison, this is a great call out right here. In order to have the custom report builder, you do need to have a professional plus account. So folks, if you are starter or if you have clients that are starter, they will be leaning on that default dashboard that we have right now. This is one of those features that we may bring down for HubSpot payments users. We'll see exactly what happens. But in order to access the custom report builder to truly visualize this information, you will want to consider a professional plus account. Really, any hub will do the trick here. Cool, folks. Keep the questions coming my way. You all are definitely asking some awesome questions here. So that's how payments and the commerce motion fits into the report builder specifically. I want to just call out a couple of other things, and I'll anchor this back to the subscription record here. If someone reaches out to you, let's say you all are using HubSpot payments and they're like, look, I want to update my payment method. You can always come into the subscription and then fire that email manually. Of course, we never want anyone to say we want to cancel, but if they do, this is where you can come in and cancel the subscription. Now, folks, what will happen if you cancel a subscription? As I'm sure you can imagine, the status will change from active to canceled. A couple of other call outs on status specifically. Credit cards expire, payments fail sometimes. What happens in that case is the status is turned from active to unpaid, and your buyer will receive an email automatically, again, a transactional email saying your payment failed. Big button in that email that when clicked will take folks to the checkout experience, and then any past due balances would run. So let's say you're owed 2 months. Once they update that payment method, the 2-month price, essentially, the 2-month amount would process. Now, from your perspective, we decided not to over notify our merchants in this case, but we give you all the tools that you need to do really whatever you would like on this front. So if you wanted to come in and let's say build a workflow off of the subscription object right here with the status of unpaid to do whatever you want, you can absolutely do so. Payment-based workflows as well. Let's say you all wanted to kick off onboarding the moment that someone pays, or webhook out to another system to provision or deprovision a license. A couple of other ideas I'll throw out here, folks, but when it comes to the real value prop of HubSpot payments, it's nice to be able to click into a given record and see literally everything that you would need to see. But being able to actually take that step back and say, okay, I have all of this data underneath this one roof. You have some pretty powerful pipes underneath this system with our reporting engine and our automation engine as well. So it's not just being able to view this data, which alone is a giant win for so many organizations. You can actually do stuff with this data as well. This is what makes our product, folks, very unique in the market right now. This is really the value of connecting your commerce and your CRM efforts. I'm going to throw out some other ideas for you folks to keep some gears turning. I do want to make sure that I can tackle some of these questions here. So, do the automated emails need setup or can they be customized? They don't need to be set up, nor right now can they be customized. They're going to be pretty straightforward. Again, it will have your colors and your branding. You all won't be able to customize that, but I'm curious if you did want to, what you would want to have in there. But again, you don't need to set them up. They're going to fire automatically. The only things that you all will have here, if you go into settings gear, payments in the bottom left, and then general, you'll see these default options. So right now, these will always be checked for me, but let's say I didn't want to have credit card, then by default, it will only be ACH. Payment failed. This is all you need to do to toggle this on. And then the upcoming payment reminder will send an automated email 14 days before another payment. Again, if you wanted to change that time increment with workflows, you could absolutely do that. Madison, just based off of the question, I figure I may as well show you what this will look like. Very, very straightforward. And again, your email address and your phone number right here. I like it. I like it. Good call there on the personalization tokens, Madison. Yep, and Macy, I hear you there. I'll pass that feedback along for sure. I appreciate it. Folks, keep this stuff coming here because I can tell you all just like in the past 6 months alone, we've made like two or three different pivots based off of customer feedback. So folks, let me know what you all are thinking because it will very much impact the products and the features that we build next. So keep this stuff coming. This is awesome. So one thing I do want to touch on, yeah, I do like that question on, ooh, nice contracted deal owner. I like it. Now, folks, one thing that I do want to touch on and just call out because we haven't yet on the subscription record specifically, and this ties back to a question that Madison, maybe you asked earlier around like extending or like modifying dates. Right now, let's say I'm paying $500 a quarter and I wanted to go to $600 a quarter. So essentially an upgrade or a downgrade motion. Right now, you're not able to modify the subscription record. And so what you would need to do is cancel this subscription and then send along another link so that they can get a new subscription running. Or what you can do is have concurrent subscriptions running, which, isn't ideal. Subscription amendments, so upgrade, downgrade, that's something that we're going to aim to build later this year or early next year. There's also going to be the pause element of this, the prorate element of this. So let's say it's $1 a day and you start on the 15th. First month would be $15 and then subsequent months would be $30 as an example. And so right now they would need to enter in payment information again if you are extending as an example, but later this year, early next year, you're going to have more jurisdiction over this subscription record to be able to modify this however you'd like. So I think I answered the question that you asked earlier. I just wanted to come back to this here today, folks. And to completely show my cards here, from my perspective, I'd much rather us focus on, building a more robust subscription management platform over personalization tokens as an example in a failed payment email. If we're thinking about that incorrectly, folks, I'd love to hear from you also. Like, let me know if I'm wrong on this here, but this is definitely going to be a big push that we're gearing up for once we wrap payment schedules and future start dates. We're going to be focusing quite a bit on the subscription side of things. Subscription management is just so difficult for so many companies too. So if we could solve this the HubSpot way, I think it will be huge for a lot of different businesses. Haley, I love that question. What am I most excited about? I'm really excited for deeper subscription management. This is something that a lot of businesses struggle with right now, and there are a lot of subscription management platforms out there with a lot of innovation and that cost a lot of money. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to really nail this. Frankly, a lot of our install base already uses recurring payments, and so I really want to cater for those folks. I also think the combination of payment schedules and something called payment method on file is going to be extremely significant because right now, let's say you all send out a quote to collect a deposit on some work that you're doing. Let's say you had the payment method on file, so it be a bank account or a credit card information. Let's say you all have a ticket pipeline to manage your projects and you drag it halfway done for the project, and there's an associated invoice with a balance for halfway done, and it just automatically runs. And then you drag the ticket to project complete. And if there's an associated balance, it automatically runs. And so I'm really excited for the subscription management push that we're gearing up for. I think the combination of payment method on file and payment schedules will allow for us to like really see the genuine value of running your whole business on HubSpot. Like that to me is a real commerce and CRM connection. Uh, Curious to hear what you all think though, but those are some of the things like in the next couple of quarters that I'm most excited for. Yeah, I'm fired up about it for sure. Now, folks, I just used the word invoice. I want to tie back to that because uh, we're thinking a lot about invoices right now. Here's how we're thinking about it. Ultimately, if you ask 100 businesses what is an invoice, you do get 100 different answers. To me, to boil it down, an invoice is something record in an accounting system. Ultimately, HubSpot is not going to be building an accounting system in the immediate future. Instead, we're going to be focusing on integrations with accounting tools. QuickBooks Online right now has, like about a 90% market share within the United States. So that is, of course, where we're focusing. Folks, I'm not sure if you all are aware of this, but we recently launched some new QuickBooks workflow actions that can make the accounting and reconciliation motion exponentially easier for a lot of businesses. Here's the most basic workflow I could possibly build with you all. It's a payment-based workflow. Again, the payment record simply represents a transaction. So this is telling us if a transaction is successful, if the money moves, then what you can do is you can create a paid invoice within QuickBooks automatically. What you all will see is it will associate with the correct person because on that checkout page, the only field that's always required is an email address. Of course, the products that someone purchases will be associated as well. You can also create those products within QuickBooks if they don't exist. So right now, what we're doing, folks, is we're creating the invoice automatically. And then what we're doing from there is we're bringing that invoice back into HubSpot so that you can see everything in this one place on an index page. And going back to my contact record, you can come down and you can see those integration invoices right here as well. So folks, this means that you don't have to add your entire team to your QuickBooks instance. It means that your team won't have to be reaching out to your accountants to be like, hey, did this person pay? Everything is centralized. You can view everything in this straightforward way that, frankly, I imagine you all are already looking at everything. And you can lean into automation to make the accounting and reconciliation process easier. Now, the features that you're going to see coming up next that are actively in development for QuickBooks Online integration. Right now, if you refunded someone within HubSpot Payments, that refund would not automatically reflect within QuickBooks. It will in the very near future. Also, the HubSpot Payments fees that you would have will be syncing into QuickBooks as expenses. Once we do those things, the QuickBooks integration is going to be pretty awesome. It already is pretty awesome. But those are the features that you all are going to see in the very near future on the QuickBooks side. Less running around for everyone is huge. That's for sure, Haley. And Frank, I don't know if you all are the people in your business that does this. Like, I'm frankly not, but no one likes calling someone who hasn't paid. No one likes chasing stuff down. No one likes manually copying and pasting data between a bunch of different systems. So ultimately, my hope is that this makes your lives a lot easier, folks. So when it comes to commerce objects, we have the payment object, the subscription object, invoice object is on the horizon as well. Finally, payment links are also going to be an object. We're building something called simplified payment links. Essentially, right on this right-hand card of a given record, you'll be able to create a payment link in like 30 seconds as opposed to 60 seconds. To be honest, when we first built payment links, we thought people would just put it on their website and get paid. We were definitely wrong about that. We're seeing a lot of people just create a payment link, grab the link, and send it out more transactionally. So, curious how you all use payment links. Let me know if you folks do have feedback. Last thing I have to mention, just quickly on an object, folks, are going to be the ability to segment as well. I'm sure you all have played with lists at one point or another here, but ultimately, this is where you all will be able to also come in and see payment properties, subscription properties. You're always able to segment off of this information too. So you can segment off of it, you can report, you can automate actions off of it as well. Question from Allison. What are some of the top questions you're getting about how to integrate payments into an existing process with your accounting or your billing team? Has there been pushback? It's a really, really, really good question. So right now we're focusing on that QuickBooks integration. We'll likely focus on NetSuite next. When it comes to the top questions, frankly, I think most of it is around awareness, first and foremost. The workflow actions are kind of down in the bottom right panel. Frankly, once people see these actions and they understand how it works, most people in the finance space are like, wow, that's actually a lot easier than what I'm doing right now. So I'd say no massive like themes around the questions themselves, Allison. It's more awareness. I think the main pushback, honestly, is people are just kind of nervous to change how they make money, especially the finance folks. Like, if the system isn't broken, don't fix it. I think that this is something that HubSpot and the entire HubSpot community, in a lot of ways, is going to need to figure out and try to figure out over these next few years, because it is a different persona that we're trying to break into. And frankly, this persona hasn't changed very much over the past few decades. Again, most folks are still using paper checks on this. And so I think it's incumbent upon us, and the pushback that we get is, okay, I understand that this is like new and maybe a little scary because it is your financial boat that you're rocking, but ultimately it will unlock a lot of power. It will allow for you to be more lean, more efficient, will allow for you to open up new revenue streams and really everything else that we've already chatted about. And so I think the main pushback is frankly just coming from a place of anxiety around everything. But once you get up and running, we're seeing that anxiety kind of go out the window pretty fast. Yeah, great question, Madison. Steps or policies in place for HubSpot to ensure information will stay private and safe via payments. That's one of the reasons why, as we kind of just looked at the entire ecosystem, if we wanted to build our own payment gateway and be PCI compliant and everything else around that, that's a lot of work. Ultimately, we're plugging right into Stripe. And so when it comes to like, do you have to worry about any of that sensitive information? You really don't. And so Stripe through and through, it's all that information is going to be living on their servers. Now, I will say we have an underwriting and risk team in-house, and they are HubSpotters through and through. It's not like an offshore team. Those folks will both approve or deny on the underwriting side, but also get a bat for you folks if there's ever a chargeback or anything else like that. So you'd work with our underwriting and risk team, and they're absolutely amazing. So we have our own team. We also just rely on Stripe servers in a lot of ways to hold that super sensitive information. Yeah, I love this. In a few words, can you explain the differences in payments for e-com websites versus retainers or other recurring payments? So I'd say that it's going to be actually pretty similar, Macy, and that's kind of the point in so many ways. If it is a recurring payment, it will just create subscription records. Whereas if you're taking something, a given product or service to market online with links, again, it will have the same implications within the CRM and how everything works. Now, I'd say when it comes to like a true e-commerce platform, that isn't the direction that we're pointed in or really trying to push in. We're not trying to compete with the Shopifys of the world. We're trying to become the B2B Shopify, ultimately. A couple of restrictions, folks. If you're selling physical goods, those are often taxed. We don't currently calculate taxes automatically. Physical goods are often shipped as well. We don't calculate shipping or manage that yet either. And so when it comes to like, is HubSpot going to become, a shopping cart? Not really. We're going to be building tools like optional products, which I mentioned earlier, that kind of get us in that direction. We see a lot of opportunity in front of us, though, on the B2B side of things. We think that e-commerce space is pretty saturated right now. Yep, great question. Folks, keep the questions coming. Just a couple of things that I'll call out here, because I am conscious of the fact that we were winding down. I'd encourage you all to enroll and try it out ultimately. The tools are super straightforward, and that's the point in a lot of ways, but they're super powerful. We also give you all test credit card and ACH information to simulate some transactions. Check out some of the new content that we've created as well. You're going to see a lot more content and discussion around payments from us in the near future. And then finally, if you all have questions or feedback, I'd love to continue this conversation after this. Coopersmith at HubSpot.com. Let me just go ahead and drop it into the chat right now. I'd love to hear from you all. I'd love to hop on the phone with you all. So with my team, if you have questions, if you have feedback, if we can help you all in any way whatsoever, please, please, please let us know. I'd love to continue this conversation. With all that, folks, any questions for me? Any feedback for us? Are we excited about HubSpot payments, I hope? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's awesome. Elizabeth, what do you think? Are you excited about HubSpot payments?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is great. I love the explanation of seeing HubSpot as the B2B Shopify. I think that's so telling about kind of where we can expect all of the product developments to go from here.
Yeah. And folks, I chatted with you all about like 10 different things that are coming soon. We will not be taking our foot off the gas pedal once we release those features. Right now, we're operating in the United States. Does anyone think we're going to just stay in the United States? Nope. We're going to have commerce APIs at some point. There's a lot of work to be done on this side. So I'm super thankful for everyone's time today. And I'm super excited to have you all in the loop and on board with HubSpot payments moving forward. And whatever I can do to help on that front, I hope you all just let me know.
Thank you so much, Jack. And thank you everyone for joining us today too. I just dropped my email address in the chat. So if you have any questions or comments or recommendations for future Hug events, please let me know. And keep an eye out for the recording of today's session in your inbox in the coming days here. So I'll stop the recording now.